How's it going, hey? Yeah. Aha, here, hey. Aha, ha, hey. I'm joined with an absolute prince. Myself and this man. Fucking Star Wars 2. The remake jobs. Attack of the Clones, hey. This is the younger brother here, Terry Nuckins. Also played by Eugene Greaney. What happened after Oxygen, man? Where did you go?
Our young Eugene.
Young Eugene.
What are you doing?
What are you doing at all? It's a great pleasure to get you back on the show. We tried to do this before a couple of weeks ago, but there was a load of heavy machinery operating outside, and there's like a constant sort of pneumatic drill going. Now the fucking dog is giving me the collie stare now, because he was away in the woods over the weekend, and now he had a couple of ticks. Anytime he gets bitten by a tick, he gets the shit stand. So I'll have to probably end up fucking typical, man. So how's things anyway?
One eye on me and one eye on the dog, man.
Exactly, and the other eye on the floor with an old jiffy cloth ready to clean up some anal canine spillage. How are you doing anyway, Huge? Nice to see you. Shame I haven't figured out how to broadcast these, but sure, fuck it, like, what can you do?
Yeah, it's good to chat to you, man, and catch up. It's been a while, and a lot has changed since the last time. I'm getting on okay, I suppose. It's, a month now since all this shit happened and we closed down, so every week is kind of a bit different. This week it's kind of better than last week. It's not so bad. Kind of getting on with it, just in a little bit of my own little bit of a rhythm here now with things. So this week, not so bad.
Well, do you know what hasn't changed? Me and you looking the same, as in each other. yeah. So
remember that day? I think during the arts festival, we were at the launch of it, and you were in the restaurant the day after, and we went walking around town, and we had a pint or two outside Nocton's, I think. And
they were lovely pints.
People always stop and think that I'm you anyway. So they'd look at me and go, "That's Eddie Durkan," and then they'd look beside me and see it was you, and they didn't know where to look.
Oh, look, it was just cognitive dissonance all over the gaff. The funny thing is, like, obviously we know each other from home and from Swinford, but just for the audience, to give you a bit of a backstory into yourself, you're from Galway and your dad is from Swinford.
Yeah, both parents. So
both parents, your mum as well.
My mum and dad and both sets of grandparents. So yeah, we lived in Swinford till I moved. We moved when I was 3. Darren would have been there till he was 6. But we moved to Galway, but my dad would have had the pub in Swinford throughout all our childhood. So we would have spent summers and Christmases and New Year's and all that down in Swinford and worked to the bone.
The pub was Greaney's, and it was a legendary pub. It was there it was there when my grandparents were on the go. It was a great pub, and the supermarket was next door. The granddad and my uncle Seamus had the supermarket next door, and it was a fine pub. It was class. It was something that I was and still am very proud of. It was a great pub and good characters, and the old lad was in his prime. Even though if you see him now, you think he's still in his prime, but he was in his prime and buzzing with customers and great crack. And that's where I suppose we would have learned a lot about our business now, dealing with customers and whatever about the product. You know, we are very passionate about that, but definitely where we kind of excel is in the experience side of it, or the customer service side of it. And we would have learned a lot of that from our childhood, working with my dad and my granddad and uncle and my mother as well. So yeah, that's invaluable, that kind of experience, and that's the kind of experience you can't really learn in an institution like college, from growing up around
when you're 7 years of age and your granddad is like making you work and sell flowers to all the old ones, grannies after mass, you know,
working the crowd.
Everything. But when you're that age and you're used to kind of working charm on grannies and flogging them flowers, and then you're in pubs and you're used to being around a lot of characters and stuff, and you get used to that kind of hospitality and that bit of crack that you get in restaurants and bars that kind of make places, you know. So we picked up a lot of that, and there's so many characters and stories and mad shit goes on at Swinford. So it was a good place to
get a bit of an education.
And for anyone who might be confused as to where we're talking about, if you haven't been to Swinford, also Castletown, where the statue, like the legacy of the west of Ireland over the generations is immigration, because it's like the forgotten part of Ireland, and if back in the day, like today, if there's no work down in the west, it's immigration is your pretty much it's what you have to do. And there's like a statue of like a sad looking woman with a child in her arms waving, to her husband or, kids who are heading off. And that's something like my family did. I'm sure like even, I suppose like I had to up sticks and move off myself, and like that, like everyone did. But your pub, you would have had the pub right behind that and the supermarket as well. But it was a fantastic pub. I remember there was mad crack. I remember coming second. Oh no, I came third in the karaoke competition back in 2000. Fucking Christian Kinsella won it, man. He won it out.
Well, I'd say no doubt if your man won, it was probably some sort of a fix that the owl had arranged. Actually, a good one, our granddad passed. A good one, our granddad passed away there before Christmas, and he would have started the pub in the 50s with my granny, and then the supermarket. So over the time of the funeral, there was all these great stories floating around, and my uncle Seamus, who's a great character, and so he would have took over. He would shaky hit Greaney, hey, but he would have definitely sold you a couple of them Umbro jerseys we were talking about. But anyway,
can I just say, Eugene, those Umbro jerseys, right? The Irish jersey that I used in the Hardy Bucks movie, I still have it. That's from your
basket.
Basket.
I remember those baskets overflowing with these Umbro seconds.
All Umbro. All of
yeah, massive. Like you're a big unit now. Like you're a big unit. Like imagine like that on you when you were 12 or whatever.
There was lads going around with like Man United jerseys, and they were like XXXL, and they were like skinny kids. They looked like they were wearing a smock.
They would have been big on Cantona, never mind a 10-year-old kid.
I can still remember
Steve Bruce didn't fill them out like.
No, he did a testimonial job. It was RC Lens. It was like, I remember Tony Lennon had the RC Lens one. I was like, RC Lens, man, who are they? Don't know, man, some French team. Inter Milan. And they were class, man. San Sereno job. And
we'll get to where we go. That's the first time we met, right? The link to this jersey is what we're talking about. So I didn't know you, right? I would have been down in Swinford, but I didn't know you until I was in fourth year college, and that's when your YouTube stuff started coming out, right?
Yeah.
So I like everyone, would have been watching it down in college in Limerick, and I hadn't met you, but I was on a rollover in town one day, and I was in a pub in town, and it was a Saturday or whatever, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the day. And obviously after rolling on from the day before, I was in top form or whatever, but you had been to the Saturday market. You were coming back to the Saturday market with someone else, and I asked you for a lighter, I think. And then I was like, oh, are you your man from them videos in Swinford? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, I'm from Swinford as well. And we started chatting, and I said, my dad had the pub or whatever. And you were like, he sold me a fake Ajax jersey for like £20 or something. When I was 12, I was like, man, the whole of Galway had them as well, and Swinford. But every one of my friends had like an Inter Milan jersey down to their knees. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had the Inter Milan one in the Irish jersey, and I remember Shane Kennedy had one as well, and Kennedy's shop, and he's like, look at me, I've also got the Inter Milan jersey. And we were like, class, man. Ronaldo job. Ronaldo plays Inter, man.
Zamorano and the boys. Jeez.
FIFA 97 job.
That was gas. Because they used to sell them jerseys then in the supermarket, the big basket, but everybody,
it was unreal.
Everybody had them. We had sacks of them in the house. Like.
And you had a shoe shop there as well for a while. And man, Greaney's supermarket was unreal back then. It was Greaney's and Duggan's, and it was like the rivalry.
Yeah, it was competitive, but it was, I suppose, back in like 96 and 97, and you look back at the photos now and stuff where they had the shoe shop in the corner, the big butcher down the back. They were one of the first people to have, like, remember the big Cuisine de France burst on the scene, and they were in like every shop. jambons and apple danishes and
Ooh,
donuts and fresh French baguettes.
yeah.
French me arse. But they had that big deli there in the little coffee dock. It was a class supermarket and it was a class pub, and it was something that I was still very proud of, I suppose.
There was some philosophical poignance also in the cafe section that was in the front of the supermarket. I still remember it was eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow, who knows? Quote by Omar Khayyam. I still remember it.
You live your life by those words.
I live my life for the stars that shine. And that's another thing we're big into as well as Oasis, man. It's like we're both. So it's funny because myself and yourself had an awful lot of similarities, and like even we get into like the shoot on the Hardy Bucks, but like even like my sister Erin was going up to you, go Martin. I was like, how did like I'm a fair bit bigger and broader, but people just like they somehow like family members. I remember like Tordov's mum.
I know that was strange, you know, when your sister came up and was like Martin. I was like, no.
But it was a logical progression, man. To get you in there, it was like I can't wait. Like that was one of my favorite. Like the series 3, I think for me was when I was the most excited about. That's my favorite of all of the Hardy Bucks stuff. I actually started watching the Hardy Bucks the other night. I was on the session with some sound headers, and we were up fucking very late. And I was like, I understood why people love it so much, because it's the perfect end of session. We need a bit of comedy now just to take the edge off.
Yeah,
and that episode where it's like, you want a bit of fucking Ronseal on that, man?
It wasn't a bad opening line. I just threw that in last minute. I was like, all right. Touch your Ronseal on that gate, man.
But you know, that first time we met on the rollover, like you were with a mate of yours, and you were like, I was, where were you last night? And you went like this. Yeah, won't go into that.
But
inside jokes. But I remember that day when I met you, I was like,
you were walking away and you were like, you have to be on the show or whatever. And then I'd get a message every series, you know, because after, you know, would you want to be the show, man? You have to play with a brother. And next thing, I wouldn't hear anything for like a year and a half until the same message would come along and go, yeah, buzzing for it, man, buzzing. Next thing, wouldn't hear again for another year and a half. Then it came through, whatever, and it was a good buzz. It was a great buzz.
And the great thing is as well is that you're from the town as well. And man, you got to tell the Stateside story. I mean, there's a lot of Stateside stories, but like,
can we go there? Like, which one? The one.
The one where your granddad had fallen he'd fallen in the house and you needed. Please tell that story, man, because we were doing the outdoor pub scene outside the sheep walk, and then you get the phone call and you're like, lads.
Yeah. Look, because for anyone, I think the first night we were all introduced, and I didn't know really anyone. I knew you, and I'd maybe met Collie before, and I'd met Chris before, but we're kind of introducing to everyone. And I remember like meeting Stateside, and I was kind of asking, what's the story with him? And you were like, oh yeah, he's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. And so this is about 3 days in now. I think it was the third day filming, and we were filming outside the sheepwalk, and I got a message to go back up and check on my granddad. He had one of those things on his wrist that if he needed help or something, so I needed to run up, check on him. We checked on him, he was okay, and Stateside come up because he gave me a lift or whatever. So we just made sure granddad was okay, put him in the chair or whatever, and granddad said, thank you very much, young man, make sure, Eugene, you get that man a drink. So I let Stateside go. I said, thanks a million, man, I'll follow you down there in whatever 20 minutes. So next thing, I went in. You all right, granddad? Chatting away to him. He was all good. Next thing, the doorbell rings again. It's just like 30 seconds later after Stateside leaving. And I opened the door, and there's Stateside standing there. I go, you all right, man? Yeah. He goes, any chance of that drink, man? Oh, man, it was so good. I was like, no, man, fuck off. I'll get you one later on or when I see you. But he literally, make sure you get that man a drink or whatever. And I was there, see you, say, thanks for that, man. I'll look after you later on. Next thing, 30 seconds later, he drove out the gate, went round the other side of the driveway and drove in and goes, actually, any chance of that whiskey? Oh, it was brilliant.
He really is a character. I really want to get stateside. Like, I haven't spoken to him since before Christmas. Like, he got banned off Facebook then, and I was kind of enjoying the peace. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a sound fella, very, very bizarre fella. But like, he just kept sending me, please, mate, please. The dog is he's sitting there pawing at me. Just give it a couple of minutes, good lad, and then we might have to take a 5-minute break during the middle of it. But it's I took him out like an hour and a half ago, you know, and now he's still giving like check this out. Hopefully, I won't knock the whole setup.
Ooh, very
there he is there. Look at him.
Oh, Jesus! Yeah,
poor old bat.
That's tough. That's tough.
It is tough, man. He's giving me the collie stare and the puppy eyes. I'm like, oh mate, why couldn't you have done this before? Yeah. But I'm glad we finally managed to get this done. Also, I think it's worth noting, people were getting onto me on Twitter going, fucking Durkan, man, have you got a pizzeria in Galway? I'm like,
no. So the reverse. So the reverse has been happening to you. Like, I'd be in urinals, man, taking a piss on a night out, and I'd have lads taking selfies with me going, Durkan, man, you know. And I'd be like, like on the urinal, man, taking a fucking piss, and people are taking selfies. Like, I get it at least 10 times a day. Not now during this shit, but pre-COVID, at least 10 times a day.
That's why the brilliant thing is when we're both together, because people just don't know what to do. But in the words of Simple Plan, that really crap band that came about 15 years ago, welcome to my life. Do you lock yourself in your room? Just a song designed at like navel gazing teens, and they were coining in off it. But your restaurant, man, is, I've got to say, hats off to you guys, because it's probably the finest Italian, you know, like street food, like pizza, Mezzogiorno style, or Napoli, you know, pizzas and bruschetta and that kind of thing. You've got genuine wood fire oven. You've got your own brand of beer, which is very nice. And you've got a nice family dynamic. And what I really love about the way how you've designed your premises, it's just like walking into it's like a gaff. All your stuff is on the walls, and it's got a real.
That was the idea. Well, we had no money when we opened the pop-up. We literally had like $2,000 to get the place ready. So we had to paint everything ourselves. We had to make furniture. We didn't have money for any stuff for the walls or furniture and fittings. So we like painted the walls black, wrote our story on the wall in chalk, hung up pictures, took our jerseys and Oasis photos down from the wall in the bedroom, or Sega Mega Drives, put them on shelves, and just said, fuck it, you know, it's not going to be fancy, but at least when people come in, they're going to feel like they're over in our gaff. And we just took a chance. We just took a chance on it. And whatever happened, like, it was so rough and ready. There was like, we made tables out of pallets that we stole from a building site. Like, it was so rough and ready, but somehow people didn't give a shit. You know, they were like, because there was something authentic about it and they could relate to it.
It was a good vibe.
It was just kind of luck. We didn't know that. We took a chance. We opened the door on whatever that Wednesday, and we're like, are people going to get this? Like, you know, we'd tunes kind of blaring
as well. Because you started off with a trailer. Would you mind telling what happened to the trailer?
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of people have probably heard the story already, but it couldn't have got off to a worse start. Like, I suppose I was laid off my job in January. Ronan was due to finish in June. So we had 6 months to do the business plan, research trips to England, interviewing street food traders and looking who was doing, like, we went over to England, like looking at people who were doing what we were doing, wood-fired pizza and trailers, and we'd sit there and watch them for 3 hours, seeing how many pizzas they could do, how quickly they were turning around, what their price point was, all that market research. We'd done loads of it. And then we went to the bank, got the business plan. Then it took about 8 weeks to get this the street food truck designed and built down in Sligo, and trips up and back. And then in those months while that was happening, so many calls, lining up gigs, so that when the trailer was ready, we hit the ground running. So our first gig was a League of Ireland soccer match in Terryland. I was playing League of Ireland soccer at the time.
You played for Galway, weren't you?
It was Salthill Devon, but then for 1 year it kind of merged. Galway United folded, and
Was that
Salted
under
Devon.
Nick Leeson, was it?
What?
Was that under Nick Leeson?
No, thankfully, no. He was well out the gap at that stage.
It was one
But
thing that didn't want to happen. He only brought down Baring's bank.
Jesus Christ. No, he wasn't around anyway. We were there. But no, we were Salted Devon. But for the year Galway left, they kind of done a rebrand called SD Galway. But it didn't work. But yeah, we were playing Shamrock Rovers in the FAI Cup, who were like the Man United of Irish football, pretty much. And so they were bringing down about 3,000. Yeah, they were bringing down about 3,000 fans, and I just stopped playing because we started this. So I rang their manager. I said, "Look, I'm Eugene. I play for the lads, but I've dropped out, and I started a wood-fired pizza business because most soccer teams after a game will get pizza on the bus." And so I rang them saying, "Look, instead of getting one of the big brands or whatever, I've just started this artisan gourmet wood-fired pizza business, and I'll do you a deal. I'll have your pizzas on the bus for 10 to 10. And got the deal off them, brilliant. And got through the halftime rush before that, which is the hard bit in catering, like, because you do nothing the first half.
Yeah.
Then the halftime whistle comes, and everybody, these 3,000 heads from Tala attacking us at the trailer, roaring, "What blend pizza, pulled pork pizza, what the fuck is that?" And they're all roaring, hanging over the trailer. This is our first day. We were spooked beyond belief. Darren, who was working in the central bank, he came down to see we were getting on. I fucking threw him into the trailer. He was spinning out pizzas. We're under serious pressure anyway, but we banged them out.
Huge. I could say all hands on dough.
All hands on. I didn't want to go there. But so got through that halftime rush, right? And then we did 40 pizzas for the Shamrock Rovers and their staff to have on the bus for 10 to 10 after the game. So big pressure to get all them made. Got that done. They handed over a wad of cash. And that was the first time that we had, this was 6 months in the making, so much pressure and everything. This is our first night. We got through the halftime rush. We got the money off Shamrock Rovers. We're like, fucking come on. It was the first time seeing money. It was like, we can actually do this. You know what I mean? This is going to be good. But then, so everyone was home in Galway for the launch of our business that weekend. And they were all waiting at home to have a party. So everyone went on at home, and I said, me and Ronan said, we'll follow you home. So we came out of Terryland, the ground in Galway. And if you're in college in Galway, over the Quincentennial there is like the lowest bridge in Ireland. And we turned left instead of taking right, because I suppose we were so emotional and excited after the day, we weren't concentrating. So, and at the time, the warning barriers to say that the height of the bridge below was like only 2 meters. There's like these, you go through like this goalpost thing beforehand that has chains coming down that act as a warning. They had been broken off. There was no lighting in the area and a lack of concentration. And our first night, we smashed straight into this bridge. We literally had just got money. We just got the grade. Following everyone home to a party they were having for us. And next thing, there's the trailer smashed and wedged into the bridge. This is our first night, man, like our first couple of hours.
With the pizza oven in the back.
Yeah. So, thankfully at the time, none of us got hurt. The Jeep was okay and the oven was okay, but the trailer was in bits, and we thought the thing was going to blow up, man. Me and Rona were in kind of, because there were so many electrical things in the trailer, and then there was a couple of coals from the oven, and we had to go in and like clear it out. We thought it was going to like fucking blow. It was scary shit. And then I remember like
did you?
What?
Did you have gas in there as well?
No, there was no gas in there, thank God. Because the oven operates just off wood.
Yeah.
So it was pretty, it was a shit sight, and there was like people up on the bridge taking videos. I was like running up to them like, "Are you like losing the plot?" And then the guards came, right? And I remember the guards, I'll never forget him, right? He came up and like I was devastated. I had to call my family, my parents, brothers, Evan, me and Rowan are there like in bits, and didn't know what was going on. The guard comes like, and license, pulled me over with a straight face. Did you not see the bridge? Did you not? And I was like, "Are you fucking having a laugh? Like, have some empathy." You know what I mean? Like, it was like a shit show. And he was like, anyway, that was not important. But we got back on the road. The next morning, we were like, fuck it. If we have to beg, borrow, steal money, we're booked in for a gig in 2 weeks' time. We're getting a new trailer made. We had to borrow another like €7,000 of family and friends. Went up to Sligo, whatever's left of the trailer, and said, "Drop everything you're doing, man. You need to get fucking a new trailer made." And he did it. And we got on the road 2 weeks later, man, and never really looked back.
And who was your man who did that in Sligo? Give him the old give him the Ashton Touchner. Ashton Touchner.
Alex Tapp, absolute legend, a New Zealand fella, lives in Ballysadare, or near Killarney, and he's made so many things for us since. But that time he dropped everything, got a new trailer made in 2 weeks. If you've been in, like, unbelievable with, he makes anything. Give him anything to make. Like we've done a lot of work with him since. Like we've
a MacGyver job.
He is a MacGyver, man. Bit of fucking chewing gum and an old screwdriver, and he'll get that done, man. But a legend. AMT trailers. If you're getting anything made for street food, he's your man. Plug in there, nice.
Yeah, you can't get any better than that. And the thing is, something like that happening, a lot of people would have been like, "Fuck it, I'm throwing the towel in." But the fact that you had it, you'd done all the research, you put the coin into it, you put the time into it, when I see you that making a pizza, making the base, I find is the most difficult part of it. And to see you there in Galway and you're chatting away and literally you're non-stop with the paddle in the oven and out. And I mean, just to be able to get the base down in that space of time as well. To have given up at that stage, you had no choice.
We didn't, you see. When we bought the oven, we had never made a pizza before. We wanted to be the best, and we were going to work our arses off from day one and figure out who's doing the best pizza, how can we find out how to do it, and how can we do it better. But man, for them, that whole first summer, we didn't have a clue what we were at. We didn't know what dough was, how to make it, how to manage it. Dough is a fucking nightmare to manage because it's constantly living, constantly growing, and you have to keep it in cool temperatures. You have to manage it like a child. It's something you really need to look after. And back in those days, we were just loading the back of the Jeep, driving out to these gigs in Roundstone. And we'd open out in Roundstone the Sunday morning, our second or third gig, and there'd be a crowd hitting you after Mass, and there would be 2 of us in the trailer, and pizzas be ripping in the oven, and a queue would be going back about, people waiting about an hour. Pure stress, man.
Yeah.
But you just have to do it. You just have to go through those moments and just every week get a little bit better. But you have to kind of just go through the shit because it's not even a choice. You've started and you just have to keep going with it. You just have to ride it out because there's no turning back once you've committed it. And
is it 8 years now, Huge?
It'll be 7 in June. It'll actually be 7 years to the day next week when the trailer arrived home in Galway and we were got to play around with it. And so 7 years, man, which is crazy. It still feels like a few years, but in some ways it feels like an eternity ago because we've just grown so much, it's such a short space of time.
See, and the funny thing is, I had a food truck in Stockholm for a while doing tacos. Man, it's just so difficult for small businesses here in Sweden. And but in fairness, Ireland seems to be a little bit more. You've got a little bit more leeway in Ireland with pop-up restaurants, that kind of thing. I mean, it's probably not as easy as it was when you started out, but there's more of an opportunity to just have a go. Whereas here, they actually put the annual parking permit price from, I think it was €300 up to €3,000. So that's
really
over night. You're basically
Yeah.
I mean, and how many? Imagine how many burritos or nacho plates or pizzas or curries or whatever you had to do to just make up that arbitrary decision.
And that's not even turning over the amount, right? That's not even turning over 3,000. You need to turn over probably 10 times that, to clear the 3,000 to pay for it. So that's exactly. So if that's €30,000 worth of fucking burritos you have to sell for let's say 10% profit on average of a business, right? So, some operate on less, some operate on more. So you have to turn over, let's say, €30,000 to fucking cover a parking permit.
Yeah,
that's bananas.
But they reckon all the restaurants
the door on that.
Big time.
Would have, yeah.
Yeah, and they reckon that all the big restaurants got together with the council, and you're talking McDonald's and Burger King and a lot of the more established. And the other nightmarish part is, as if I didn't we'd done our market research in it, but there's too many people involved for us. The van we had was originally doing pizzas, and what they would do is they would have pre-made pizzas Like kind of, you know, the way they like raise pizza and all that in Dublin.
Yeah.
American kind of stuff. And they would do them, they would do the pizzas and then pretty much warm them up in a salamander grill and then bosh them out then. And, but
so
as you know,
they were pre-made, like par-baked or almost cooked, and you just reheated and got them out.
well, we didn't do that. But
the people before you.
Yeah. So I was doing the pulled chicken. It was really nice. The food we were doing was like pulled beef, pulled chicken, burritos, and like, you know, we'd use the best ingredients. But I'd be doing that here at home, and then I'd have to be trying to find a place to park the van. And here there's a limited amount of parking space. You park in the wrong place, it's £100 to queue park instantly.
Yeah.
Sometimes an hour to find a parking space. Then I'd have to come in, do the meats. And then I only realized when we got out there how many other food trucks just magically appeared out of nowhere.
So were you actually food trucks that could move around and park like America?
Yeah, it was basically a Mercedes with it was a combo, so it wasn't like a trailer. So everything was it was like a Sprinter, but with
Sprinter, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I have seen that operates in the area. There's a Napoli pizza oven that has the wood fire oven, but what they've done is they've taken on the chassis. What they've done is they've taken a metal container with a kind of a glass like face with all the counter and everything built into it. And I was telling them about your operation, but it was good pizza, but pricey. Like you're looking at about £12, but you know. But the thing is, we learned from the previous people who had the truck was pizzas are the best margins. It makes sense because if you look at a lot of Italian food that came from southern Italy, it was like risottos. That's basically your leftovers of the night before, boiled with rice and anything else. Same with pizzas. It was basically like and soup, you know, that kind of thing. So they're the best margins in terms of what we were doing. Is like we were making burritos. But like the lad I was working with, Victor, he'd be like giving all this unnecessary packaging out. He'd be like, he'd give people a bag and like cutlery, and I'm like, mate, what are you doing? Just give them a plate, a napkin, and a fork. They don't need any of this shit.
Especially in those days when you're starting, like it's the small little things that fucking add up. And just start eating into this. You only have a tiny margin, and you're not even getting a wage out. It takes like that first year in the trailer, living on 120 quid a week. I was getting 180 off the welfare because anyone who was laid off and started a business got effectively the dole for 6 months. I had that, and then for the year after that, I had 120 euro, man. I had no grade. I was like, bringing any jeans I had that are rips in to get stitched up. I had the same shit clothes. It was the same with Ronan. Like, it was tight, and all those little things, packaging and prices add up. You know, especially when you're running a small ship like that. And what people don't realize, right, as well, it's street food. People think you just drive there, open up your hatch, and just start banging out food. The amount of work that goes into prep for a day, not just the food. It's not even the food, right? The food obviously is big prep and it's time consuming, but it's all the shitty little jobs, the shitty little checklists of power cables and chalk markers and fucking stupid shit.
Yeah.
You know, that takes up so much, and I'm crap at all that organizational stuff. So I would be like,
and there's the cleaning down and breaking everything down
it's a long day, man. You're the whole day prepping, then you're the whole morning setting up, then you're trading, then you're driving it back, you're cleaning down the trailer till midnight, and it's tough stuff. It can be done, and people make a living off it. There's people here in Galway that have it nailed. There's legends there in the Galway market, like Mick, the pancake guy, and the pea and madras curry, and they're just beautiful models, and they know how to do it.
Is that the Hare Krishna stall?
No, there's the other one, the potato and pea curry, man. It's absolute. You've had it, man. You were eating it that day I met you for the first time. Yeah, it's the best curry in Ireland. Every Saturday, I get that, man, and it is the best mouthful of food in Galway, man. It's just every single time. It's unbelievable.
And I was thinking that huge recently. I was like, curry is another one where basically you just knock up 3 big pots and keep them boiling all day.
Beautiful model, you know. Yeah. Like, I look at them and I go, it's such a beautiful model. They have their big pots going. Hi, how you doing? curry, 450 please. Ladle into the pot, away you go. Whereas people come up to us, they're like, can I get a 10-inch posh pepperoni back on the trailer? There'd be two. You take the order, you'd have 5 or 6 different pizzas on, open it by hand, building the pizza, then into the oven, then package and taking orders. It was brilliant because the quality of food that was coming out, but you had to wait a good bit longer. The quality was brilliant. It wasn't just here's a thing we made yesterday. It was like you're making everything from scratch and cooking it from scratch. And it was a
small confined area as well.
Yeah. So turnaround was, for 2 people, you couldn't pay anyone else to come in. Otherwise you were making a loss. So it was a slow enough turnaround when you did get busy, which was another challenge, But
I'll tell you one thing, like you've nailed it. Like you guys went out to Napoli and, all your products are genuine Italian cuisine.
Well, no,
or it's sourced in Ireland as well. Some of it.
Yeah. I suppose we're trying to. When we opened, it was kind of like, when we opened, it was always trying to be a merging of the fundamentals of Neapolitan pizza with the best of local ingredients. So Ronan trained in Naples in one of the best pizza schools in the world. We're like a year on the waiting list. He was over there for 3 weeks. Had to get an interpreter. Was in class in the morning doing theory. Then he was out in the afternoon meeting producers of the San Marzano tomatoes, the flour, the cheese, and then the evenings working in busy pizzerias in Naples. And that really stood to us then. We're kind of making up as we go along till then. But we're still. You never have the dough mastered. You're still. It always keeps you on your toes because so many variables affect it, man. We could make the dough right. We could make the dough in the morning, and the restaurant will be empty. And if we make one at 5 o'clock in the evening, the restaurant is full. It's going to be slightly different because the restaurant is full. The temperature in the restaurant is going to be higher because there's humans in it, and that affects the development of the yeast. So dough it's constantly something you need to manage. But that's where the beauty is. It's not simple. It's not a bought and base. It's not something it's something that, and that's where we kind of.
We won't mention that they did have, let's say, in the Connacht area, that did have a genuine base, and then they switched to this pre-bought shit, and they kept the prices. And I remember eating in the one in Mayo, going like, "What the fuck is this, man? If I wanted this, I could have just gone and fucking got a Goodfellas at home and put some extra toppings on it myself." The store-bought bases are shite, man. There's no getting out of that. Like, a pre-made base.
there's that for us when we started, even though there was pizza everywhere, right? When we opened the pop-up on Abbeygate Street, there was 9 places on the one street doing pizza, 9 places. But we still see an opportunity to go in and do really good pizza, do it right.
No one was offering what you're doing, though.
No, there was pizza everywhere, but there was no one that really nailed the Neapolitan, the wood-fired, which is the big on-trend probably food in the world now, or over the last few years. You see them open everywhere in England. There's loads in Ireland now, but we were shocked that nobody had nailed that yet in Ireland and done it with great ingredients and that we're able to. We see an opportunity to build a brand with it, as well as taking the product of pizza to another level in Ireland by using the best of ingredients, and then I suppose doing a bit of come up with an authentic brand where we pretty much were ourselves and just had the crack.
Well, the branding is another exceptional part of it as well. What was the story with the actual branding? It really does. It really is fresh and modern,
You look at it's something I'm really proud of is the brand and everything. But I look back at our first logo that we done. Right, I was 27 at the time starting the business. Rona was 21 coming out of college. And the first logo we had, for the first 8 months or 9 months, was it was kind of like we'd done a take on Mario Brothers. It was kind of beside each other in that. And then the tagline below, right, was wood-fired pizza baked with brotherly love. How shit is that? I look back and I go, oh my God. How fucking blatant were we going after the family cringe market?
Oh, they're nice lads, no.
Oh, I could trust them.
Don't feeling job.
Oh, it was awful, man. But you have to kind of make mistakes to improve every time. And the way the brand is now, it's just an extension of me and Ronan's personality. We treat it, our
Was I
Facebook and
fucking?
Instagram.
I sorry, continue. Was I fucking steamed, or did Gordon Ramsay come in there once?
No, his right hand man did, but we've had like some of the biggest chefs in the world. He'd in a good few times now. Like, you know, a lot of them that were on Chef's Table on Netflix, and you know, really top dudes, 2 Michelin Star chefs coming in saying it was the best pizza they've had. So like, we had a night in, right? There's a Food on the Edge. It's a big food symposium that goes on in Galway where they get the best chefs in the world over. And as leaders in the food game, they all talk about how they can impact communities and society better through food, through their actions, whether it be sustainability or, you know, really supporting local produce or whatever it is. But one of the years they were over, a few of them were in having pizzas, because while they're there and it's all about high end fine dining food, they kind of get a bit sick of that too. So a lot of them tend to come to us when they're over, and we get gangs of them in the restaurant who just want a pizza and a beer and not fancy food for a change. Yeah. So it's kind of become a spot now where they all come when they come over. But the first year, I remember when they were in and trying to cook for them, you know, Ronan was on the way back on train, and I was like, man, I have 6 of these heads in here now. They probably have about 15 Michelin stars between them. I'm shitting it. Got the pizzas down. They were like, this is fucking brilliant. They were like, look, we're going to the after party now up in Electric Garden. Come meet us for a drink after. So rang Ronan, went in and met the boys, met everyone, you know, and went lushing with them. Then the music ended around 2:00 and crack was flowing, and they were like, fuck, we don't want to go home. So we were like, come down to the restaurant. We, you know,
to the lair.
It was like getting keys to someone else's gaff. You know, we're at the door, like fucking getting everyone in. We had about 40 of them in, like some of these people that we've been looking up to for years. And they were like, fire up the oven there, will you? Make us a pizza. And we were like, the oven won't be ready and it won't be up to the temperature. And fuck it, we said, myself and Ronan got the oven fired up, and we had all these chefs up, you know, where you were sitting there at the bar.
Yeah.
Up over the bar, watch us make pizzas. We're banging them out. They're all just sitting there, man, taking it all in, eating the pizzas, enjoying them, drinking our beer. You know, and with the tunes blaring, I think the last person left around 7 a.m, man. It was like, wow, like that was like a big moment for 2 youngish lads that were only 3 years open in business, to have all these heads in and making pizza for them and having a buzz with them. And it was like,
is that the old premise is huge?
No, that was when we just moved to Middle Street. So we were just open about a month. So look, it was just one of those nights where we walked home. We're like, that was an absolute buzz. That was deadly.
Was it like the end of American Pie 2 when they were like, that was a class party, man?
Stifler's mom wasn't there though.
Stifler's mom. You know, I always thought like that movie, man, it was so like unreal in terms of like just the idea of it was just such bullshit. Like, your man, he's got.
I know, but every 17-year-old loved it. We're like, yeah.
Oh, it was class when it came out, man. But I just remember your man play Jim, whatever it was. The way he was going to get with some. Oh yeah, your one who came over on the holiday.
Nadia or something. What was there? Something.
Sharon. What's her name? It's Shannon Elizabeth or something. Real like.
Oh yeah.
And it's like. But he was into your one, the red-haired one. I was like, why didn't you just fucking do the pair of them at separate occasions? That's what I would have done. I would have been like, give you one the shot and say,
yes, he would.
Maybe he would have changed his mind with the red-haired one. He would have been like, nah, she's nice and all, but fucking yeah, the Hungarian one.
That was the Mina Suvari burst on the scene there, and that she was a big hit.
Yeah, I remember all like fucking Kearney and the boys talking in school about American Pie. There was a whole gang of them in school had gone to see the first one, and they were all talking, oh, hey, fucking shitbrick and the boys, man. And I'm like, who the fuck are these guys talking about, man?
Yeah, shitbrick.
I don't want to waste my time becoming another casualty. It was like all of that fucking...
Yeah.
My old mate, God rest him, would say it was all 9/11 rock. So like music that came out around that time.
Yeah.
Or as Chris Dordoff used to call it, Cum 41, Fat Dick.
Time
flies, man. Time flies.
And now, are they doing some sort of a hybrid tour where it's some 41 and who are the other?
Westland.
No, I'm thinking of. No, it's just
West
Brian McFadden.
41.
It's just Brian McFadden. Do you remember Brian McFadden?
I heard he's mad crack on the beer. I asked Brian McFadden. I got hold of his number and I texted him and asked did he want to come on the podcast. Prick never even got back to me. So if anyone gets onto Brian McFadden, spam his fucking Twitter and his Instagram and tell him he's a pussy for not coming on the show.
I don't know about him.
I heard he's fucking great crack on the beer, man.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, just that line sticks out with me where he brought out that song after when he
put
went
up my finger and watch football.
Yeah.
Solo.
It's something like picnic in the garden and drink some English tea. I stick up my finger and watch football on TV.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like 2005 when that came out.
That was like, oh, you've just ruined yourself. There's no coming back.
But then they got some like session musician in who looked like he could have like been mates with Oasis. He's playing like a nice, I think it was like a flame top or a sunburst
Right.
Les Paul Gibson, and it's like throwing solo in, and it's like, privilege. It was just like picnics in the garden, and we'll drink some English tea. I put up my finger. So I'm surprised some fucking like Ronan Keating flute player didn't come in and be like, you know.
It's
made a few
awful
quid for himself. Fair play to him. He did well, did old fucking Brian McFadden. Did well for himself. Because that, you know, he moved down to Australia and just fucking cornered the Australian market. I've often thought about going down to Australia. It just hasn't materialized. But like, if I was to do
what would you do, like a tour?
Oh man, like it was a shame the second film didn't pan out, because I remember we were meeting with Chris Lilly, Angry Boys, and their production company, Princess Productions, and with myself and Mike, the brother-in-law, we were there for about 8 days. We went to we had 2 nights in Melbourne, then went to a place called Mildura, which is like Roller Vineyards.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you lived in Australia for a while, didn't you?
There for about a year and a half, yeah. Back in 2009, 10.
Good crack, was it?
Brilliant.
I remember hearing, someone was telling me years ago that when Hardy Books first came out on YouTube, that they were walking down, I think it was somewhere in Bondi, and there was a big outdoor TV that you could see on the street, and they were just playing Hardy Books to a load of Irish people. And there was like a whole beer garden full of people just laughing and roaring while watching like the Hardy Books webisodes in Australia.
Oh, it would be unreal to have footage of that now. That's deadly.
Yeah, it's mad the amount of people. Like I was just having a conversation the other day about some really high up producer, and like, it was a guy, I can't remember who was telling me. I think it was a friend of mine, Ema from Cork, who was saying that a relative of theirs was like, or was it her husband Joe was saying that. A relative of theirs is high up in Ubisoft Games, and he's a big fan of the show. And like they do like Assassin's Creed and all that. But even your man Roger Clark from Red Dead Redemption, he does like the main voice in that. And he's like, I finally got to see the show, man. So it's like, it's mad because you have this. It's international now. Like you're now international. Like there's lads in America watching you, and they're like, "Hey, what's the story with your brother Terry, man?"
The Netflix thing was gas because just even a lot of my friends that are over in Australia or Canada and that couldn't see it. You know what I mean? So, or people in America and stuff. So it's deadly now. It's on Netflix. Sure, it must have been great for you to get that.
Yeah, like the thing is as well. Like I understand how homesick people used to feel. I remember back in 2004, 5. It was just after New Year's 2005. I was coming back to Sweden and I was feeling a bit homesick. But I bought 2 Father Ted VHS tapes back with me. One of them was the Christmas special, and I can't remember what was in. I think the other one was the one with Brendan Grace in it. Shibby shibby bobby wobby bobby bobby wop. What's going on down there? It sounds like he's drilling holes in the wall, and then he goes down. So I used to watch that when I was homesick because there's no YouTube back then, and so I can imagine a lot of people who are homesick out there now they have a listen to that, and like even people from Swinford, like it's a chance for them to watch their town on TV.
Yeah, it's class. And look, like, I'm sure you obviously know how big it is or the reach it has because I see you when you're in action around town and you have time for everybody, but your head does you're a magnet for people. Like, because you're a magnet for people, I've become a fucking magnet for people because people think I'm you. So I know how big it is because I get my head wrecked about 10 times a day. And I'm not going to be the guy who say, I'm not him, but I was his brother. You know, I can't even say that. So it's like people think I'm your man for the Hardy Books. It's like I'm fucking that close.
I'll just say a Terry
recognize
Durkan, man. You could say a Terry Durkan who's equally as legendary.
You can't be that guy.
Let's talk about your time on it, man. Because, like, as I said, Series 3 is my favorite. Like, there was a bit of fucking meddling from pie chart merchants and RT that was wrecking our heads. I know Tordoff took it really badly. He'd ring me up, go, Martin, they're fucking ruining it. And I'd be talking to Mike then. He'd be like, oh, that's not too bad, mate. It's all right. So, like, Chris had me fucking shitted right up. And then by the time I seen it come out on TV, I was expecting the worst. I was like, I was actually watching Catastrophe and the series of Peep Show that came out. I think it was like the 8th series of Peep Show that came out.
I've only started watching Peep Show, by the way. It's unbelievable. But go on, man.
Yeah. It's on. It's otherworldly. Like,
it's so good.
Yeah.
But go on, sorry, yeah.
Super Hands trying to skin up with his feet. Tell me this: who's your favorite, man? I always ask this question. Who would you? Big Suze or Nancy?
Big Suze, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too. There's not as Stateside would say about his height. If you go onto my YouTube channel, Maloney's Digest, you'll see there's a video about Stateside again where he came to Sweden for 2 weeks, and in the middle of it,
2 weeks.
Yeah, and I was like,
did he stay with you?
No, he didn't.
Oh Jesus, that's all right.
But he stayed a friend called Pete Silver, this Finnish header, like some hard rock dude in the gaff was a fucking tip, man. I've never seen so many empty bottles and cans. I mean, you're talking, there was like hundreds at the end of the stay. But we were walking past this kind of like block of flats, and he goes, "There's not much difference in our height. The only thing about this guy, he's a little bit wider than I am." And he's on about the building.
Oh Jesus! It's an odd place to be. His mind.
Wedding festival during the middle of his stay, but I had good crack, man. He was like, He's just walking around like Stockholm sweating. He's like, Martin, the sweat was going into my eyes, my mouth. I'm losing my pits, like my face. But yeah, that Series 3 was brilliant crack because there was Steve Brody, who he was like the first guest I had on the podcast, and like he was in The Office, and he was like the accountant in Life's Too Short and all that. I'm fucking Angelo Quaid. So to have him in it and yourself, and then Richie from trying to be Richie with Recessed Health, Richie from Babylon 5.
Yeah.
So like it was just so many great set pieces in that. But when
you had good cameos.
Yeah, the cameos were just again otherworldly. But like I was so excited about this, like for the time when you come in, because I was like, they're finally going to see the pair of us on screen, and it's going to put it to bed. But obviously it hasn't.
Yeah. No,
fucking Galway.
It's only left me more confused. But no, it was. I loved it, man. I'm not gonna lie. The first day I was freaked, but as it went on, by the time it finished, I kind of.
I
was getting a bit of confidence. And I was enjoying it, because it was just good crack, man. It was, but when it started, so. I got the same message I got like the previous 3 years. Would you like to be in the show, man? When you played the brother, I was like, go on, yeah. And next thing, Mick got in touch, and he was like, the lads were saying that you be good, and you play guitar, don't you? And I was like, no, don't play any instruments. Oh, the lads said you play guitar, and they go, you sing though, don't you? And I go, no, don't sing. I don't know where this came from. So and he goes, no bother. Just the character does a bit of this and a bit, but you'll be fine. So he goes, just do me a favor. Yeah,
you should have that leather waistcoat.
I think it's in my granddad somewhere, man. I better find it for you.
Oh man, it just says on the back of it in silver marker, "Pure fucking passion."
Yeah, that was obviously you, was it?
The funny thing is,
perfect.
The band was called the Messerschmitt because. Yeah, do you remember Andy Wallace?
Yeah,
you know Andy. Yeah, he was. Me and him, like he was in a band with Carl Barrett from the Libertine Sister, and they had this like a night in the Prince Albert in Brighton, and he was like, "Oh, will you come over and do a compere for us?" So I was like, "Yeah, no worries." But like, we bought this bottle of like knockoff Jägermeister called the Messerschmitt, so we were just
Oh.
Blessed are the Messerschmitt. And then for some reason, we all just kept talking about the Messerschmitt for a good while. But that was the name of the band. So there's also a picture of them, a Messerschmitt on the back of the jacket as well.
Yeah, I think it was the first thing that was handed to me was this jacket with "Blessed be the Messerschmitt" on it. I was like, "What is this?"
Oh man, you should rock that fucking thing at work sometimes, man. It's beautiful.
That would be unlocked at the right time. It'll blow people's minds.
It'll be just out of the vault. It'd be like Ocean's 11, just unlocking the jacket from the vault.
Oh, it's locked up for a reason. But
these lads trying to do acrobatics into your gaff.
Sorry,
was that Jet Li, was it?
Who?
Was Jet Li in Ocean's 11?
Jet Li, Chinese dude.
Yeah, was he the dude who's doing all the acrobatics? And
I can't remember.
Actually, they made too many of them fucking Ocean's films. The first one was really amusing, and after that, I was like, don't care.
Yeah. But I just thinking there when you're saying that the first day, because Mick then got on and he was like, "All right, you don't play instruments, you don't sing. But will you do me a favor when you act out this little script and just video yourself and send it back to me just so I can get a feel for you on screen?" So I was like, "Yeah, no bother, man, no bother." Like bullshitting out of my arse. But we just come home from work after closing up, and Ronan, I got our chef to video it. Ronan had to read out, like he was pretending to be Buzz, reading out some lines, and I was pretending to be you. And we'd like act it out in the sitting room in Wood Key and send it back. You know, just thinking back, like. And
you nailed it, man. You fucking nailed it.
Well, he sent it back and was like, "That's sound, man. Yeah, come down." So whatever date he said, right, we were doing C sessions with the trailer up at Donegal.
That's right, yeah.
So we had a nightmare day. Driving up to Donegal, 2 runs I'd done that morning. 1 van to bring up all the stock and another run down to go down and get the trailer because it wouldn't hitch onto the van. So I was like 8 hours up and down to fucking from Galway to Donegal because we had some problems. Some fella couldn't let us down last minute. So we arrived up late and like we're trying to set up and get the trailer hooked up to electricity. And next thing, by the time we opened, we were late. But whatever, because of the rain and something got to do with our amp or electrical fitting, everyone that came up to the trailer were getting these electric shocks when they touched it. So I'm stressed out of my head. There's people coming up ordering, already giving out that we're late. And anyone who touched the trailer are getting like these little electric shocks.
So there's someone to give out to you and then getting a shock.
Man, I was spooked out of my head, and I had to leave Ronan and the couple other heads that were with us at the time in the shit with a big queue, people getting fucking electrocuted to go down and record for the Hardy Bucks, right? Out of my depth, not knowing what I'm driving down for. So I'm leaving Donegal stressed, and I'm driving down, it's lashing rain, and my wind wipers aren't working. So I'm pretty much driving down like Ace Ventura in that opening scene, Ace Ventura 1, with the head out the window, driving from
stones in your teeth.
Yeah, catching bullets with my teeth. But arrived down anyway. So I'm in an anxious. I was kind of anxious in an anxious state at the time anyway with the business and whatever else. So I'm already a bit freaked driving down. And the rehearsals were the night before. So I went into the Gateway Hotel and there's a few heads around, like you one from Love Hate who was there and a couple other heads and introduced, and I'm kind of pretending like I'm all confident. Next thing I go, yeah, the boys are over rehearsing for the band. Martin and the lads are over rehearsing for the band across the road. Do you want to go over? So I arrive in and you're all fucking rocking away like everything, drums, amps, everything, and you're there blasting out some tunes and you're like, grab a guitar, Eugene. I'm like, I don't play guitar, man. And you were like, because I told you, I think before, and you were like, just play a few chords or whatever. And I was like, I don't even have a fucking chord. You were like, but you sing, don't you? And I was like, oh, I don't even sing, man. And you were like, oh. So whatever the character was, I was supposed to be, I think, the singer and play guitar. Play guitar.
I'm sorry if you were being described in like Irish tabloids, you'd be frontman and rocker Eugene Greaney.
Not the other way around. So in the end, anyway, you ended up convincing me just to fucking sing. So I was like I'm not a singer. And we rehearsed, and I don't think I sang that night, but you're like, we'll fucking sing something tomorrow, man. I was supposed to sing an AC/DC tune.
Whole Lot of Rosie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be A Whole Lot of Rosie, and I was like, I don't even know the words to that, man. You were like, fuck it. Typical you're like, fuck it, man, we'll wing it tomorrow. I was like, wing what tomorrow?
I
Am I
don't even
singing
know the
on stage?
words, man.
So you were like, we'll sing Oasis, man. We'll sing Oasis. I was like, perfect. We'll do fucking, what's the
Weird.
story, Morning Glory? I was like, grand. So went over, had a few lunches with everyone, and it was good crack. But then the next morning was filming. So, like, I didn't know, but when you're filming, you're not filming in sequence. We arrived down to film what's the ending scene, or one of the ending scenes, which is the festival scene. So because there was so much going on, and yet, like, it was kind of taking up a big part of the budget, there was only like filming the festival, the oxygen, and there was a stage and all this production. So you pretty much had one take of everything because we didn't have time. And man, I remember the first scene, it didn't make the cut, obviously, but we were in the back in this VIP tent was the scene where there was like Kanye West and Andy was playing Pete Doherty. I was a part of the Durkan Bros band, and there were some groupies on the couches. You know, we're sitting back drinking was a scene. Next thing, I hadn't been told anything by anyone, what my lines are, what fucking, when I'm going to be talking. I was relying on you, right? To be like, man, you're coming up next, do a bit of this, just do that. So I'm like, next thing, Chris just comes in ad hoc with the camera rolling, and he's like, take the piss out of Pete Doherty there. And I'm like, what do you mean? He catches me cold. I'm already like stressed and anxious and a bit freaked, trying to blend in. And he's like, be funny there. Fucking give me a good slagging. And I'm like, now? He's like, yeah, camera's rolling. Everyone's looking at me in this tent. And man, I came out with like the worst. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what the fucking scene was. And he's like, slag Pete Doherty there. And this is what I came out with, right? I said, how much are your CDs now, man? €3, is it? And it was the first thing that came to my head, and I just shited it out of my mouth. And I looked around, no one laughed, and they all looked at me. And you were after bigging me up to everyone. You're like, this fella's a fucking comedian, man. And I could feel this pressure. And next thing, everyone just stopped, and Chris kind of looked at me, and he just went on to someone else. And I was like, that was my first introduction.
Man, that's fucking
and
hilarious.
I was spooked for the day then. And then I kept going to you, like, so, trying to get nuggets off you. And you're like, man, just fucking wing it. Just fucking wing it. You're a funny fucker. I was like, I don't want to hear that, man. I'm stressed. I need a bit of direction.
Do you know, like, the thing is, we're so used of
I know, yeah.
mad shit that there's like so much funny stuff going on that it just becomes, we'll laugh about it later on when we're watching it. Like you do, there's some things where like I was watching the episode of the job interview on YouTube the other night. My mate Jer, he put, you know, where it's like the dog's barking as me and Uncle Mick on the and you know, your father used to say, he used to say, short down to the lug and dig her deep and throw well back. Sink it down to the lug, and he had the fucking wrench. And then I never noticed, but you can see where I'm nearly laughing when he says it. But like Chris had obviously just cut out as he left it as long as he could. But I never noticed there was a bit of laughing being done. Actually, I was watching something recently. It's an old classic, but if you look at did you ever see that Saturday Night Live where they're talking about more cowbell, and it's like the Blue Oyster piss take. But Jimmy Fallon was in that, and your man Will Ferrell was in it, and Will Ferrell's just like, Christopher Walken's in it, and he's like, hey guys, it sounds great, but I think it needs a little bit more cowbell. And then so like it like they have a bit of a rear up, right? But one of these small dudes grabs Will Ferrell. It looks hilarious because he's got like this long hair and this cool mustache, and he grabs Will Ferrell's card. He's like, don't be so selfish, Gene, like this. And then your man Jimmy Fallon comes out from behind the drum kit. And you can just see he loses it, and he goes, he bursts out laughing because it's live, and he laughs, but he goes, yeah, Gene, don't be so selfish. But just check that out, man, because I watched it about and I sent it to Owen and said, this is the kind of crack we be at, like. But I totally get it if like comedy is a tough thing to pull off, but
after that, man, it was. I think that day, right? I was. I struggled a bit. I was thrown in the deep end, right?
You were thrown in the deep end because we knew you could handle it.
But do you know what was fucking with my head was this whole. I was supposed to be the lead singer of the fucking Durkan Brothers band, and I don't sing, and I could feel this thing building to the end scene of the day where me and you come out in the Durkan, and
It was like doing speech at a wedding.
but we only did change it to Oasis last minute, and I was over taking a fucking shite somewhere in one of the pubs, freaked, looking up the lyrics to this AC/DC tune that I didn't know, and I was like, I'm supposed to be singing this in 2 hours to 300 extras and RTE cameras in my face, and I don't know the fucking words. So after that, though, man, I loved it, though. Even after that day, we had pints. It was like, that was brilliant. And after I got through that first day, the next days after that, then we're filming out in the gaff, the opening scene, and then we're filming down the sheepwalk. And those days, because there was less going on, we were all hanging out in between scenes and just having the crack and kind of saying, we'll do a bit of this, or maybe, but then by the time you do it, some would say something different, but you just improvise, but you felt more natural because we just been hanging out, and it just felt like the camera was rolling while we were having the crack. And I had a bit more time to get, because I'd met you a couple of times, but we weren't like, I hadn't really met you, like, I don't know you like I know you now, and I hadn't really met the other lads, so I was still a bit out of my depth, but those couple of days were magic, because we're just getting to know each other, having the crack, and then the confidence kind of came a bit that day, and then the last day, so it was, by the end, I loved it, man. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and to look at it as well, you'd never think that you were ever out of your depth, or you felt like that. Like when you look back over it, you're just like, what a legend, it's like
No,
Eddie's younger, confident brother. Do you know what I mean? Like the lad who got out. Back every now and again.
I was effectively, someone watched it the night, and they're like, you were just your fucking self. I couldn't. I was supposed to do the accent, and I was like, last minute, I was like, it's too much pressure. I'm going to try to do this Mayo, and it's going to sound like some hybrid shit accent. So I kept my own accent, and I just dressed the way I just was myself, pretty much. And
but no one noticed your accent with, like, geez, you want to be nuanced to be able to tell the difference between, like, what is the goal? Because I remember, like, having this conversation with Pete loads of times, and he was like, oh yeah, man, he had a pure Galway accent. I'm like, what is a Galway accent?
There's I don't know, right? There's different Galway accents, right? But there's this one now that's starting to creep in over the last few years, and it's just
American one, is it?
It's along those lines, right? Where everything is seriously gas, boys. Seriously, man, that's gas, boys, and everything it's sick, man, and everyone is like, they're all at it, from fucking 18 to 23. They're all, oh man, yeah, serious boys last night, man.
What happened to Galway? Because Galway used to be, like, Galway's gone back to being great crack. I'd written Galway off for a couple of years, man. I mean, there was one night I remember going down to see Stuart Lee in the Leisureplex back in like 2012 or 13. I went down with your man Liam Heffernan, who was playing the banker who had the alcohol problem, and I don't know what the fuck happened. I was supposed to be staying out of his gaff, but I think I got a bit carried away on the pints. And for some reason, I was like, of course, there's nothing worse than being stuck in Galway and you've nowhere to go, because it's kind of like you were used to always having accommodation in Galway, and then all of a sudden you don't know anyone anymore, and you're like, fuck. And then your man wasn't answering the phone, and this is about like 5 a.m. I remember I was in some gaff along where, what's the road? Dominic Street, is it, where Apache is? And all that?
Yeah.
I heard a load of noise coming out of a house party in there, so I was like, fuck it, I'll go in here and see what the crack is. It's about like 6 a.m. I go in and the whole place is just full of people in suits. And I'm like, what the fuck's that? And I was like, oh, fucking early folks, man. And at one stage, right, I go into the kitchen. I don't know fucking anyone there. And at one stage, I'm being hoisted up in the air by a whole load of lads in a kitchen at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm going,
in suits.
Lads in suits, like giving me the bumps in a kitchen.
Cars, jars, and fast cars. But there wouldn't be a big suit culture in Galway. You don't have that same kind of corporate nonsense you'd have.
There was a lot of
you might have just had a bad night, man. Bad crowd.
Oh, no. But that was it. Didn't end there. So I found a place to stay. Anyway, there was a room. People were like, fucking throw your head in here, man. It's like brilliant. And I'd found like a duvet, and it was like on the floor, and I'd made it nice and cozy for myself. And it's like, and I could hear someone going in the background going, Your man from the Hardy Bucks is here. And I could hear someone, they knew I was in earshot. So your man, there was some spiteful prick in there. And he was like, yeah, the Hardy Bucks is fucking shite, man. It's fucking
classic.
shite. And I was like, I was lying there, right, with this duvet with the fist wrapped around.
Yeah.
And I was like, going, lads, don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I was back in the day, man. He used to just like, we go to a house party or something, and he just like, it didn't matter whose place it was. We didn't even know them. And the collie just fuck off the bed. He just just go into a bed and sleep. Man, there's some fucking mad times ago. No, but the last time when I went for the
how long were you living there?
Like on and off. Like, I mean, since 2002 was when I first started going to, and like Chris Kinsler and Tony Lennon had a gaff out in Rahoon, and I remember like I came back from Interrailing, and these lads were living out there, and Tony was a mad bastard. For some reason, I don't know what possessed us to do it. We were jumping out of a second story window into the lawn on the front of in the grass in front of the house. Needless to say, it wasn't long before the boys were kicked out, and then, so you just be hanging out there. And I had some American friends, and I was in college in Ballyfermot, and then I suppose it was about 2007 after I kind of came back from Sweden. I was there for about a year and a half living in Spanish Parade. And but then you were just always there, and then people kind of, when you get older, then it kind of, people move out of Galway, then it kind of runs its course, I suppose. But like the thing is, it's your hometown, so it's like, you know, why would you be in Dublin when you could be in Galway? And I felt like it had gone back to, like when I was at the comedy festival in October. That was brilliant crack. The gig, you were at the gig in the craic.
Yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah. And then, like, I remember Gavigan getting pissed off with me because, as you say, everyone's like coming up talking to you, and we were playing the music with Fikra, and he was doing all the.
He was magic. He was
big shout out
on the guitar.
But he
banging
plays
out
Gowan now, and Johnny and Mick Cronin and the boys.
So he was on the late there with pretty much everyone in Irish music there when they had the night with Shane McGowan and all.
Mikey in Denver at it, was he?
What?
That Mikey in Denver wasn't out.
Mikey in Denver was. Oh, good luck to him anyway. Good luck to Mikey.
What's funny about the nouveau country scene in Ireland, the likes of Nathan Carter and Nathan Carter, and all those boys. It's funny because they've taken all that like promiscuity of rock and roll culture now, of just like loads of shagging and Tinder, but they've just applied that to kind of like Irish country music. So it's like, I remember like watching some sort of interview with your man. I was, Jake, he's the one who gets all the birds, mate. Yeah, you want to see? He hasn't got a stitch of a willy left on him and all. No, I didn't say that, but like you can imagine all these like country birds coming up and just like,
oh yeah,
Nathan, come here. Myself and mate will go into the room with you. All right, come on. Like, I don't know if what his situation, but it's just funny to see, like, it used to be all like, stop the world and let me off. And now it's all like a new generation.
But that's squeaky clean kind of teeth glistening.
Like Mammy's dress.
Yeah. They all look like Donald Skehan a bit.
Donald Skehan. He's married to a Swedish woman, apparently. And so that's why he had this show when I was back in Ireland around Christmas time. He was like, I'm infusing Irish and Swedish cuisine. Like, fair play to you.
Nice. Yeah.
But, I've never met the guy, but I remember fucking 2011, I was in the Old Town, and I was walking around, and my mum and Lisa had come over to visit after the baby was born, and I met their camera crew was out filming, doing a bit, and they were like, do you want to say a few bits to the camera, do you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And never made the cut, but I guess what would be the point was like, Eddie Durkan from the Hardy Bucks is in Sweden. Yeah, you should come after all this shit blows over. Come to Sweden, man. We'll have a good laugh.
Yeah, I've never been to Scandinavia. Ronan's been over a couple of times to Copenhagen and that, but I'd love to go over to Sweden, man.
The football he was over, was it?
No, he goes over. Just has got a serious food scene, class bakeries. And he goes over every now. He's been over there twice. One of them chefs actually that was in Mad Orlando. He used to be second in command there at Noma, which is like the best restaurant in the world, and now he has his own place in Copenhagen called La Masse. Huh?
Is that the one where they eat ants?
Possibly. Yeah, I'd say. I actually watch. I'd say there's a bit of that going on in Scandinavia because I was watching something the last day, and there was a lot of ants going on,
Do you
and
know who
they were adding the ants for lemon flavor because these
lemon flavor?
whatever
Yeah,
whatever this Michelin Star, it's a 3 Michelin Star place in, I think it could be Sweden. But yeah, they only use ingredients that are within 50 kilometers, so they don't have access to lemons or that. So they use these particular ants to add citrus flavor, which is mad.
yeah. Because I asked. Because funny enough, I was on the Royal Caribbean cruise there. I think it was like 2013, just after Christmas. Just after New Year's, and I met your man Jockey Petrie from the Fat
Yeah,
Duck.
he was in. He was one of the first people in. Well, can I tell you about him? Right. So this fella, for anyone who doesn't know, he was like Gordon Ramsay's right hand man. He worked. He was his development chef. He worked with Heston Blumenthal. He's a fucking genius, and he actually was. With Nancy Delalio. Do you remember Sven's ex?
Oh yeah, she was top notch. Sven was some man for the women, wasn't he?
Some man. You wouldn't think it either, would you?
Apparently, Owen did a thing with Paddy Power. He met Sven, and his man's like assistant was like, "Look, whatever you do not mention women, please."
Really? No way! Oh, brilliant! Yeah, you wouldn't think it would have, but yeah.
What was he doing with Nancy Diallo?
I'm not sure because I just remember he was in the restaurant and I hadn't heard of him. Like especially at that time, I didn't really know which chef was what. Like, you know what I mean? I was just after coming out of. I just wanted to make pizza and the rest of it. Rona would have way better knowledge of food than me, and he probably would have known who he was. But he was one of the first people in the first year when we were in the pop up, and right. So I was in these Michelin Star chefs come in right, and this other people like him. And I was in there on my own, and he came up and they ordered pizzas, whatever, the few of them that were in. And he goes, just wondering, how do you make your dough? And I was like buzzing because I was like, we get Caputo flour in from Naples, 00 flour. We mix it with water, fresh yeast, and salt, no oil, no sugar. We do it the way we trained in Naples.
You don't have oil or sugar, no?
What?
You don't use oil in it, no?
No oil or no sugar either. No, it's just the way they do it in Naples. Do you know? Oil would be more of a kind of crispy New York buzz, right. Whereas Neapolitan is that kind of light and fluffy and soft. So he comes up and I'm buzzing, going, yeah, we get this flour. I think it'd be impressive. He goes, no, how do you make it? Kind of in my face, and I'm like, well, the boys we have a big dough mixer in. You know, it's one of the biggest you can get. We fucking. We make about 300 dough balls at the time. He was like, no, how do you make it? And I was like, and there's other chefs around. I'm like, are you fucking winding me up? Are you trying to have a go at me here? Like, and I was there, we start off and I started going into the methodology and he was like, okay, all right, okay. And then he left, right? And he ate the pizza and the boys were chatting away and he comes up and he goes, when you're making your pizza, what do you dust it with? When you're making pizza, you have to have flour underneath, otherwise it'll stick to everything. So you typically use 50% semolina and 50% flour because flour burns on the base and it goes yellow and it's bitter. And semolina is coarse. It doesn't burn because it's thicker and it's more coarse and it doesn't have the same burning point. So people use a mix. So that night, right, he comes up and he goes, what do you use for dust? And I go, flour and semolina. And he goes, what's your mix? And I go, 50-50. And he goes, how do you mix it? And I go, well, the boys upstairs get 50% semolina, 50% flour, and they mix it together. And he goes, how do they mix it? And I go, they get it with their hands. And they mix it, man. And I'm getting thick at this stage. I'm like, this fella's taking the piss out of it. I'm like, they get it with their hands and they fucking mix it. And he goes, well, I'm just wondering, because some of my pizza underneath had a bit more flour than semolina, And one of the boys came up to me and he was like, don't mind him. He's just... But I got it, right? I got it. He was that anal, that scientific, that fucking anal that he wanted. If he's making a 50-50 mix of something, he's going to make sure whatever way he's fucking blended it is going to be exactly 50-50. Whereas he could see something that basic of something you dust your pizza with, he could spot that it wasn't fully mixed through.
Wow.
And that's that's the level of detail that they operate with. And at the time, I thought he was taking the piss out of me, but that's just his mind and the way he works. And it was hard to deal with at the time because I thought he was taking the piss out of me. But I kind of respected it then after when I understood, because I was like, maybe we're not mixing it as thoroughly as we fucking should be. And these are the details that matter. So, but at the time, I thought he was fucking taking the piss out of me. And I was ready to be like, man, I'm doing you a favor. I've stayed open an hour late to serve efox, and you're giving me fucking grief about fucking how we mix flour semolina. But then I kind of went home and I was like, maybe there's something in that.
Yeah.
And then I went, nah, fuck him.
Because he's a lovely fella. Because we were hanging out with him all week on that Royal Caribbean trip we had, and he's married to a girl called Una Palisa, who's a violinist. She's like, you know, top of her game. She'd be touring with Sting and all those kind of people. But they were lovely. We were hanging out with them. They were great crack. But he was the one who told me about, because I remember my mother-in-law's auntie. She was like, "Oh, he's the Fat Duck, Heston Blumenthal's place," and I was like, I wasn't too up on my, didn't know who I knew of Heston Blumenthal, but I didn't realize he was so scientifically orientated with what he does. But he was a really sound fella. So I might get him on for the crack. Like, how are you getting on? But he was one talking about the ants.
Tell him I'm after him, man.
You're going to fucking throw a handful of semolina and flour at him.
Eugene Greaney's after you, man.
Oh, don't crash the greenies, man.
He said, you're dead after school, man. You're dead after school.
Could have pulled the jumper over your head and take it to the ball alley.
But actually, sorry, I forgot one other thing. What he said then after the dough was, he goes, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but he's like, the reason I'm asking about your dough was because in Neapolitan pizza, right, we use a particular flour called 00 because it's so fine, it's able to absorb far more water. Okay, which gives it a higher gluten content and it makes it lighter and airier and easy to digest, right? So you can use like 60, 65% water to flour, which is way more than you get in strong flour. Strong flour, you use 50 to 55, right? So he said, the reason I'm asking you is because I'm working on a recipe at home where it's 80% 80% water. And I was like, fuck. Like, that would be like just pure light air, crispy. I don't even know how you do that because when your dough is hard enough to work with anyway because it's wet and sticky. But he was working on a fucking recipe that was pretty much all water. I don't even know how you do it, but he's that technically gifted and scientific. I'm sure he found a way around it. And that's why he was asking. He was like asking because he wanted to know how we did it so that he could like maybe...
How the hell would that be? That must be like feather light then if he's mixing.
Yeah, it would just be... I don't know. Did he do it? I haven't heard of anyone with a 80% hydration, but that's kind of why he was asking. But just his way of asking kind of threw me off because I was already fucking nervous and freaked serving these boys. And when he was asking me in front of like Nathan Outlaw and Matt Orlando and these lads, I was like, come on, man. I was only just starting. I was in the pop-up. I was fucking winging it. And
give a man a break, like. But, you know, again, like you were thrown in the deep end there and you handled it well.
Hey, I didn't like it, but I respected it.
Yeah, exactly. You know? You were getting a bit of a hazing for the big boys.
I was mad enough to know the difference.
Yeah.
Even as a young boy.
Yes. I tell you, one of my favorite pizzas is the Peter Stinger.
Peter Stinger, yeah. How was that?
Tell us what's on the Peter Stinger.
So it's probably one of the pizzas that probably defines where we're at and what we're trying to do. So obviously the dough is one thing and we do it the Neapolitan way and we cook it in the wood-fired oven. But what we try to do with the toppings is not be Italian. Try to be as Irish as we can. Try to be not the first, but a really good, authentic Irish pizzeria. So by using the best of ingredients. So that one kind of symbolizes it because we've got the fresh mozzarella that we get from Toonsbridge in Cork, which is just as good as any mozzarella we've had in Naples or anywhere. And then chorizo from Goubine. So
yeah, what is Goubine? Is that in Cork, is it?
Goubine started out as a cheesemaker and still to this day one of the best cheesemakers in Ireland. But then the son...
Do they do goat cheese as well?
Not sure they do goat cheese. They're famous for their Goubine their Gooby cheese, but I'm not sure about the goat cheese. It's more cow's cheese, but I'm sure they do. I'm not big into. I wouldn't eat cheese normally unless it's on a pizza, So I'm not too up on their cheeses, but that's where what they're most famous for. But the son then Fingal, who's an absolute legend, Fingal Ferguson. We went down and stayed. He took over the smokehouse where he does all the smoked meats. Yeah. So all the salamis, chorizos, sobrasadas. He's an absolute genius and one of those people that. I could talk about all day. We went down and stayed with these people. We stayed down in West Cork. We stayed with Fingal for like a night, and we were supposed to be in Toonsbridge the following morning to try out the cheese. But sure, we ended up going on the piss with Fingal the night before, drinking wine in his hot tub, and up till 4:30 in the morning. We're supposed to be in the cheese place in Macroom the next morning at 10 o'clock. We woke up at like 11 o'clock, so like 57 missed calls from your man. And and we had a videographer with us to make a video, and we're absolutely hanging, got over to this cheese to Toonsbridge late, and I'm dying of a hangover, and we're getting fed this fresh mozzarella on screen, and I'm like fucking dying. But so chorizo from Goobeen, who do this fucking amazing charcuterie. And then it's finished with a spicy hot honey that we've got a class award-winning honey maker in Galway, Sleeve Octo honey, to make us a honey, but infuse it with chilies. And so we drizzle that on the top. So it's just a great Irish pizza with great Irish ingredients. Nothing too complicated, but at the same time very good.
Chili as well, aren't you?
What?
You have the jars of the honey chili there as well.
Yeah, because everyone, it's unbelievable stuff. You put it on fucking everything, in porridge, on fucking toast, it's just unreal. So everyone that's in was like, man, that honey, they're gone crazy on it. So we're like, we have to start selling this. So it's something that we sell now in the shop, or did sell, and we see it's something that will possibly have legs for retail or something. So watch this space.
You'll have to get on to Dragon's Touch.
Dragon's Touch.
I was thinking about doing a Holly Books episode called Dragon's Touch.
That'd be good.
Yeah, or maybe you should fucking do go to RT and say, look, we'll do one called Dragon's Touch, which is like a piss take out of Dragon's Den. People are like, can I get 250 quid for like a slab of cans, and
or for to go over to Cheetham Hill and get fucking fake Ajax jerseys. I'm going to sell them in a basket in every supermarket in the west of Ireland.
But there was lads wearing those jerseys, man. They didn't even know who the teams were.
Oh no, not a clue. Not a clue.
You said Ronaldo played for Inter.
It's not like they looked good either. Like, they were so massive. Like, you're a big unit now, and you're still wearing that Ireland one. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I remember it got orange paint on it from wearing the Hardy Book. Man, I was just wearing that around like Poland the whole time. Like, yeah. It's just like literally going out. Like, I was burning the candle at both ends. Like, the other lads didn't have the same amount of stamina as me. All credit where it's due. Out of all of the fucking true session heads out of the Hardy Books, as in lads who just got like unreal stamina. I don't have the same as what I used to, but I would say it would be me I'm the one who basically can probably
you were the Cafu of Lushan.
The Cafu of Lushan. But the thing is, I've got and even Uncle Eugene would say, no, I was always very lucky now in my constitution for being able to handle the drink. We would have.
He's a funny fucker, man. I've only met him a couple of times, but just on the show and just knowing a bit about him through you and everything, he's a gas man.
The first time we had the first time we showed it to him, we were showing him the stuff we had on Bebo, the original episodes, and he was sitting there very blankly. Right. And I was like, we were looking at him, I was like, what's he make of this? And at the end of it, he goes, yeah, and that's comedy, isn't it? And we were like, shit, he's not too impressed. Oh, brilliant. And then when Storyland came, it was an official RT thing then. He was like, there's a few bob. And there is, yeah. But I was amazed at how he's such a natural, how when the camera started rolling, he assumed like a limp. He goes, no, I always try to give a character, like Joe Pesci said in fucking Raging Bull in the making of, he's like, I like to give my characters a walk. The Huge was like, I like to have a limp, but I couldn't stop laughing.
So the limp was purely improvised.
Purely improvised, yeah.
That's yes.
I just found it so funny that he'd thrown himself into it like 110% when and it was just like you knew, like that was the brilliant thing about it. Usually when it started, like we knew we were onto a winner, and I remember saying to this, myself and my mum, or myself and I think Peter Cassidy drove my mum to Castlebar. She was visiting someone in the hospital, and that was around the time when your man, the red-haired lad Kaczynski, who's one of the Slaters, was in EastEnders, and everyone was like, "Oh, you look like your man from Slater from fucking EastEnders."
AC Slater. Oh yeah. Speaking of AC Slater, I heard they've just started a new series, and AC Slater is a fucking teacher or some shit at Jesse Kapowski or whatever. I just heard a bit of it on the radio today, but that's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Did you ever, you know your man Dustin Diamond who played Screech? Apparently he made a porno film once, and apparently he didn't even use his own lad.
I heard that, yeah.
Then didn't he stab someone in a bar fight then? Poor old fucking Screech. Yeah. Screech is after you.
He was doomed. He was doomed from the start.
He was, wasn't he? Up beside Zach Morris and AC Slater.
Yeah, that's a tough beat.
He was just thrown in the mix for comedy relief.
It takes some confidence to be wearing those wrestling outfits on TV. Like.
Oh, it doesn't adjust, man. And that permed mullet.
you wouldn't see one of us in one of them. Like.
No, you wouldn't. Or would you?
There's an episode.
I had something else to say about fucking. I'll be listening to this back later on, going, "Oh, that was the point." Hey, fuck it. But that was it. We met these girls outside the hospital, and we were talking to them, and they were saying, "We was like, oh yeah, we just filmed a comedy show," and I said it's going to be as big as Father Ted. She goes, "I doubt that now." But whoever those girls outside Castlebar in 2007 were, we did all right for ourselves.
They're eating the words now.
We just knew we were onto a winner. You know, it's just there was so many characters in it that, and especially the storyline stuff. That was like that was the nicest era of Hardy books in many ways, because it was also new and fresh, and everyone had kind of come together as one unit in like a competitive. It was like a team. It was like a team sport. Yeah. And were you in UL in 2009, or you'd finished at that stage? Did you?
I was there 2004 to 2008.
Yeah, because the year after we were in the stables in UL, and I just remember they were like, lads, they're fucking going mad waiting for you. And they opened like this double doors into the bar, and it was just like floor to ceiling of just...
Really? Yeah. Man, I was in UL when it was taken off on fucking Bebo, man. That's right. Jesus, Bebo.
Bebo, baby.
That was gas shit. But yeah, it was just... There was nothing like it at the time. It was just fucking... What is this? It was just purely that moment in time of something completely different that just kind of captured the nation.
Yeah,
it did though. It did. It was. I've never asked you this, and you probably explained it a load of times, but where did it come from, or how did it fucking start? Even the YouTube stuff, the Bebo stuff, where did that come from?
It originally started with myself and Chris just doing prank phone calls. And then through them, we kind of like developed.
Sorry, just on that. That's him obviously doing that block fighter prank.
I can't go on the record and state that.
Correct. Okay, that's fine. But whoever did that,
whoever it was,
still gets played regularly in my lads' WhatsApp group. It's one of the fucking Chambers is after you. Who the fuck is Chambers? Chamberlain. I want you in there recounting the tales to other lads. It's going to be epic, and I want you in there.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of fucking balls to have that much gall to ring someone with such cheek, man. Do you know what I mean?
But the sharpness of the comebacks were just very impressive.
The ball alley, it was like. When the word ball alley was met, it was just because that used to be back in school, man. All disputes were taken to the ball alley.
Yeah.
I don't know who did that now. It was that was a bit of genius, that was. But can't fucking dwell on that. But
so it started on with Egan
Well,
having a few pranks and
yeah, just having a bit of crack, really. And I mean, and there was nothing. I felt everything coming out of RTE just fucking patronised.
yeah,
Just its audience. You know, I mean, even I remember I won't mention who I was working with before, but there was another popular TV show that was out at the time, and I was talking to one of the lads who was producing it, and they were just saying, like, "Oh, look, our audience, they're too stupid to get the nuance." And I was like, "This is the problem with like mainstream TV, man. They assume that their audience doesn't have the intelligence and it's a real superiority complex." And you know, we would just leave things. But for me, when I was growing up, and you probably were a bit like this, like you'd watch TV and someone would walk through a door and something dramatic would happen, and they would just go, "Oh," and then just drop all their shopping, and then, or in a horror movie, they would walk in to a room and then leave the fucking front door wide open.
yeah,
I remember years ago going into Stella Cinema, which was a fucking kip back at the time in Rathmines in Dublin. It's beautiful now; they've renovated.
yeah.
But I remember, like, it was so bad. Like, I remember watching the Blair Witch Project in there with my sister and brother-in-law, and being genuinely terrified. Not only because the film was scary, but the actual interior of the cinema. So there's one day I went to Abracadabra and got myself like a fucking chicken baguette job, and then actually, are they out of business now?
They're back open, man. They're making a resurgence. Yeah, one that's open there across from the hospital there in Galway. So yeah,
Abracadabra in Square, man. That was the Wild West.
They used to do a nice chip buddy, man. You don't see them anymore. Chip buddies are fucking unbelievable.
Very underrated snacks, I suppose.
Yeah.
But where was I? Sorry, I was going to say. Oh yeah, so I was smoking a joint inside the cinema, smoking a joint, watching Jurassic Park, munching on this chicken baguette, watching Jurassic Park 3, and I was like, someone will be like, you know, members of staff who people would have had a great rapport with are just being eaten by various different fucking large lizards.
Yeah,
and no one fucking stops to go, shit, man, he's got kids. You know, I've known that. You know, oh, what am I going to tell his wife? He's just been eaten by fucking Spinosaurus. There's none of that, and I was just like. So I always had this kind of thing that when I'd watch movies, I'd be like, what would people do in real life? And then I guess myself and Chris had that kind of just consideration for the audience's intelligence, where you didn't have to telegraph every joke and spell it out. And I think people, like, anytime I'd watch something, there's a Swedish film called Till Salmons, right? And I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before. It was a guy called Nicholas Moodysson who did it. And there's a scene where there's a neighbor, right? It's basically about two houses. One house is like a hippie commune, and there's a kid who comes from that house, and then there's a house across the street where it's just like a keeping up appearances, like middle class couple who are like real straight laced, and they were like typical kind of like boring Swedish people. And I think the son came from that house, and the daughter and the son were good mates. But like you could hear like that there was always like the sound of like a hammer. And you like it's just be in the background in the film. You wouldn't take any heed of it. And then there's just like one scene which shows the dad, right, some bald lad in the basement, just fucking flicking through like a page of a porno mag, cracking one off, and just hammering like this at the same time. So there's a real touching moment later on.
Yeah.
They're having like a serious discussion, like the father and the son are having like a discussion, and then you could just hear from the house across the street, bang, 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 bang.
Oh, sorry, my phone was ringing there. I missed the punchline. I won't ask you to repeat it.
Fair enough. Just listen back to the podcast. But, I'll wrap it up soon because I think we've covered all bases pretty much. I mean, there's a couple of bases we shouldn't cover because there's some outrageous characters we know in real life, but that's something for the old.
That's for real life.
It's in real life, yeah. But what was it? I just wanted to hear. It said the Durkan Brothers versus Oasis. I don't know. That was from the last time we were supposed to do the. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the notes from the last time, was it?
Oh, Poznan. Yeah, that was another one as well. We met each other out in Poznan during the filming. One of the nights.
Yeah, you were filming over there, and we were over there, fucking on the rip with half the nation. But that was a good time. But it was also a hard time. It was like a 12-day fucking stag, and man, we were staying in a campsite, this Carlsberg football village that was done on fucking CAD, and it made it look unreal when you were buying the tickets. It had like 5-a-side soccer tournaments and volleyball and stuff. But after the first night, when you're in a 3-man tent waking up, it like pretty much in an oven with lads breathing and farting on you, and you had to like by day 8 there was lads just killing each other. The screams coming out of tents. It was horrifying. Really? But it was horrific.
I remember it. Yeah, see, that's what I meant to get on earlier on, because I was out wearing the fucking Ireland jersey full time, so I must have looked like I was feral. I was just constantly going around wearing this Ireland jersey day in, day out, because I had loads of mates over there, so it was I hadn't seen since for years, and it was like I was seeing people from Swinford, from Dublin, from Galway, and then there was like random funny bastards who you'd meet then as well. And at the end of it, you're doing so much chanting. You know, there was one lad who just kept going, "Get your tits out for the lads, get your tits out for the lads." Hey,
there's always one of them.
Yeah, and at the end of it, it's like the Rory Festival times 3. You don't know what's going on, and then filming on top of that. I'd have 3 hours sleep sometimes.
But the Irish fans were fucking unbelievable. Like, you know,
brilliant crack, man.
Like I remember some nights being in that square in Poznan, and when the Croatians and
Polish, wasn't there a big fight between?
Were Serbia there? Maybe it was the Polish and the Croatians, man. But all the riot police came in, and it was like,
remember that as well, yeah.
Fuck, what's going on here? And it was scary shit, man. When them Croats come to town, that was just the football hooligan side of it, was to see the different nations, and it was scary shit. But the Irish, man, when you went home going, we're a sound bunch of fuckers. Like, all the big messages from the Polish people, don't go home, Ireland. And we're all swapping jerseys with the Polish people. And Poland, man, was a delight, I would say. You know, without sounding like too much of a dick. Like, you know, I think me personally, you might have a perception because you see people coming over here during the recession and hard times, and you think, geez, that country must be shite. And you go over there, it was fucking beautiful, man. The architecture, the squares, the people, it was like, geez, this is an amazing country.
Did you go to the big swimming complex out in Poznan?
No.
Oh, it was fucking unreal, man. Water slides, it was all geothermically heated. Like that's the only place I wanted to go on our days off.
I don't want to hear it, man. I was in a fucking tent, a 3-man tent with about 8 people farting in my face.
You were in Lake Malta, were you? Or were you in the other place?
I was where?
Lake Malta.
No.
I was like,
there was one by a lake, but we were in some other hellhole, man. It was.
Oh yeah, you were in the Carlsberg one, were you?
It was grim, man. It was tough. Yeah, it was.
The place we were in was fucking luxury. It was brilliant. They had like
I remember by the end of that, if I heard a bottle of vodka open, I'd get sick. It was like by day 10, it was like if I even heard that clink of a bottle of vodka being open, it was great crack. It was brilliant. I did France a couple of years after. It was good crack. It was a bit more civilized. We got an Airbnb and all that. But them trips are good old buzz.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we should do, man. Are you on that Stockholm Passion Session WhatsApp group? Did I add you to that yet?
I don't think so. No.
Fucking, I'll get you in there. It's like you know, if you go to it's basically, for me, it's some of the fucking finest headers that I know. But if there's anyone who I haven't added, it's just I haven't got around to it. But I'll add you to that, man. It's just got beautiful individuals in it as well.
Like, international WhatsApp group. Like.
Yeah, exactly. But I reckon we should after this, like if there's a football game on or something, just a gang of us go on like a trip away. Because I was going to suggest everyone come to Stockholm, and I mean, like that's still an option. Like Stockholm in the summertime is fucking brilliant crack. Like the place is beautiful.
Yeah,
and you know, rent out a load of bikes and just cruise around.
I'd love to get over, man. We'll have to fucking chalk that down at some stage when this shite is over.
Yeah, how's everything affecting you psychologically? Because over here, there's no lockdown in Sweden.
Yeah, no, I was reading about that, and you're the outlier. How's that going, man? I'm interested to know. Like, you're the only one that's kind of stuck with it, and
well, Ireland has now passed out Sweden in the Corona World Cup. But Sweden, I think, has recorded over 1,000 deaths now. A really mad thing that happened. There was there's a very well-known Swedish TV presenter over here. He was only 51, a guy called Adam Alsing. I mean, I was only looking at this picture on the back of a bus the other day, and I was like, I was just like, oh, there's your man who's in everything. And today I found out he died of corona. And the last message he had, he was like on Twitter saying, "Oh, I've had to self-isolate now, and I'll be back out in a week or two." And the poor guy didn't make it, but apparently it was a really nice. Yeah.
I hope it plays out all right for you. It seems from the outside looking in, it's a bit of a gamble, but what the fuck are we to know?
Also, the thing is, man, it's like this is going to have disastrous financial repercussions down the line. I mean, it's like, but again, look, I always come at it from the conspiratorial point of view, which is the last, it's always a culling of that every generation gets their wealth culled and is to transfer up the fucking pyramid, if you want to, for the want of a better word. It's funny to see, like, Bill Gates, man, everyone's like, he's so benevolent, he gives all his money away to charity and all this, but I think he's a fucking wrongin', man.
You think he's funny,
he's a proper wrongin'. He's look into who he's associated with and like who his parents and mates with, and you're just like, so this dude is like he calls himself a health expert, right? Like Windows, he should know a lot about viruses, considering Windows were constantly fucking attacked by them. I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, if you look on his Insta, just go onto Bill Gates' Instagram page and look at the comments. They can't delete the negative comments fast enough. It's like,
really, people.
Yeah, I mean, like the last financial crash was brought in due to the derivative markets and easy credit and the housing market collapse. Mm-hmm. If that was to happen again, it would be too obvious. So I think it probably, I mean, and if you consider all of like the global unrest, all these different nations around the world, you had like the yellow vests in France, you had like Hong Kong was kicking off, like so many places around the world, people are just getting sick of being fucked over by like, the elite. And this was just kind of like every country had just basically had martial law. And it's like, yeah. I don't hear anything about Hong Kong now, but I don't know. I mean, I always kind of, just fucking question everything.
You're skeptical, yeah, and right to be. Like, there's, I'm like not
if
even.
you get a bad feeling about something, I think you should question it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you know something,
I will. I don't think I'm fucking at that stage yet, or I'm not trying to think too much bigger than my fucking day to day, because every trying to fucking stay sane during this shit. You know what I mean? It's
so you can't leave the house unless you're going to get messages.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're allowed to exercise, but by yourself, or if you're with someone that you live with, but within 2 kilometers. But yeah, I don't know, man. The first week we closed the business was just a head fuck. I think we were one of the first people to close, and we had to like lay off 30 staff, even though we hope that when we open, a lot of them will be around. But that was a whole head fuck. And then the week after that was ridden with guilt, because I'd nothing to do, but I didn't know what to do with myself, and I wasn't doing that because I'm used to working. So I was like, and I need to be doing something. And I was fucking around the house, like hanging up fucking pictures and drilling shit, even though I don't know how to fucking drill. I was just boring holes out of walls and trying to do shit. And then I was like, actually, yeah, I pretty much was like Brendan Grace, man, in that episode of Father Ted, drilling fucking. But then I was like, man, chill the fuck out. This is your one time to relax in downtime and get your shit together. But then when I did that, I felt guilty. So I've been trying to just find a balance of doing something that keeps my mind busy. And that doesn't have to be like fucking groundbreaking work. That can be like trying to learn. Yeah, bought a PlayStation, man. So fucking back playing a bit of that.
Have you got a new Modern Warfare game?
No, man. I'm just on. I bought all fucking sport ones, man. I bought FIFA, I bought tennis, I bought fucking Formula 1, I bought golf. And yeah, they're all fucking pretty shit bar FIFA, to be honest. 50 quid a pop.
Harrington's golf fucking simulator.
Yeah, fuck it. It's but yeah, just I don't know, man.
Rory McIlmore.
Macklemore.
Macklemore's got a class hairstyle. I remember there was a bit in we were going to have another second. We did like about 4 or 5 different drafts for this second Hardy Books film. There was going to be like a golf tournament in Australia, and there was one where like we were slacking off. Rory McIlroy was like, "You're fucking that Rory McIlmore. Hey, it's got a face like a spoiled cabbage." Or was it like a fucking sour turnip or something? I can't remember what it was.
A sour turnip. A sour turnip is a man, Graham Taylor. He used to manage Arsenal.
Yeah, wasn't he the England manager as well?
Was he Arsenal or fucking, maybe I'm wrong, Spurs or, ex-England. He looks like a turnip.
Yeah.
He's definitely of the Swede family of some sort.
Family. What's the crack? What's the story with Liverpool now? And I mean, just I called this back in January. I said it'll be typical now. Liverpool are about to win the league. Corona will happen.
Are you a Liverpool fan?
I am, yeah.
Naturally, yeah.
Are you Liverpool?
No, I'm United, man. So
Ronan's Liverpool, isn't he?
No, Darren, the older brother Darren.
Yeah. Can't win them all.
No.
How does that feel as a United fan to be like fucking mid-table, man?
It's shite, man. But the last 11, I know there's a bit of hope. The last 11 games, fucking.
They're coming back up now.
Their signings have been good over the last year. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's pretty shit, though, to be honest. But fuck it.
Yeah, I think the players, a lot of them, there's no. Doesn't seem to be any team dynamic. I remember listening to something on who was it? It was Roy Keane and maybe Carragher were talking about all these agents, and they're like kind of like the money kind of like.
The soul has gone out of it. Like I even watched that documentary last year when Keane met Vieira. Did you ever watch that on ITV?
No.
Really good watch where Keane and Vieira sit face to face and they talk about each other and the toughest games and the battles of United and Arsenal, and they're both like, the game has gone to fuck. There's none of that tackling anymore. There's none of those
rubbish
battles. Like they were unbelievable games to look forward to. When you were on a Saturday or Sunday and watching the games at home with the Outflower, the brothers, man, you were in for like unbelievable entertainment, the fighting and the tackles and the passion, because there's so many homegrown players and all the rest of it. Now it's like all that shit's gone out of it. And that's when I played, like that's all I was able to do was fucking tackle and scrap. Like I was fairly ordinary, but when that's gone out of the game, it's like
that was the best bit, man. 2-footed challenges, sliding tackles.
Yeah.
I remember watching a good. It was a good documentary. It was on like Sky Sports about a guy who was in the youth academy with United, and then he was just on his way up, and he got a bad tackle or he had some injury, and that was it. It was gone. But it was showing him like coming up through the youth academy, and then he was just getting his game. But like you see the way like United and Ferguson, what he did, in fairness to him, they're all homegrown players. They're all like local and like look how long Beckham stayed with them. Like that was the
great times.
As much as I fucking despise them growing up, it was the golden era.
My claim to fame was marking Keith Gillespie there. He ended up playing for Longford Town.
Yeah.
Keith Gillespie ended up playing for Longford Town. What the fuck? He was one of them class of 92 fuckers, like, you know, with Bud and Giggs and Beckham and the Nevilles. And he was one of them breakthrough stars, and then he was sold to Newcastle for the Andy Cole deal. And he ended up playing in Longford Town. It was actually like, I felt bad for him. He was up playing against us in Salt Hill with about 40 people watching. And like, all you're going to want to do is try to get a kick out of Keith Gillespie so you can tell the lads, fucking.
What happened to him? Like, how come it went? What was after? It was just
gambling, man. He had a serious gambling problem and ended up down the lower leagues, got in big problem, and then whatever, fucking got a move to Longford out of nowhere. So I'd say it was just money. He would have been well paid by the owner there. I think they own Kingspan, and gave him a bit of grade. But he's up in Salt Hill there, up in Drum, playing in front of 50 people. You're like, how does this happen? How do you go playing with Eric Cantona to fucking have some shite footballer like me kicking you? Do you know?
Ankle snapping.
Just so you can get that photo of you kicking fucking Keith Gillespie. Like, I'd say his head was like, get me out of here, man.
Was it who broke Neil Ruddock's legs? Was it Keane, was it? Didn't Neil Ruddock take an awful bad?
No, I think he gave them. He broke, right? He broke both of Andy Cole's legs in a tackle and didn't even get a yellow card.
Who did Keane break? He broke someone's leg. It was fucking nasty the way he did it, man.
Oh, Haaland. And in that episode of Vieira and Keane, it's a really good watch, man. They asked Keane, and the Haaland tackle, you ended his career. Do you regret it? And he stares off, and he just faced the camera and he goes, nah. You're like, oh, you are a cold fucker. You are cold.
I love watching those arguments between, there was a brilliant one between Jamie Carragher and Roy Keane that time when, I think Liverpool bet United at home. And it's like, United, they're not who they used to be anymore. They're not the same. Do you know what I mean? It's just like they're gonna have to accept that. You're and he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're talking about Solskjaer, and he goes, what about Solskjaer? Do you know he's driving the bus now and all that. He's like, no, I think it's really grand. And in fairness, this is the thing. Solskjaer will be grand if he's left alone. It's like Mourinho. How do you fuck up with Mourinho? Obviously, the dynamic in the team wasn't. I think the players are just fucking spoiled and disconnected. They have they're hired guns. They've to the area. They're like, right, well, we'll do our fucking 2 years here and then move on.
You have the likes of even the fucking homegrown players. You have the likes of Jesse Lingard there, and you're bringing fucking shit average player, and you're bringing out a clothing line in the middle of during the week before a game against fucking Arsenal or Liverpool. And it's like Keane is like, what the fuck is Jesse Lingard doing bringing out a clothing range? Do that at the end of your career, man. What are you but that's the thing now. They're all so marketable, and it's how much fucking, it's not just your value as a football player, it's your social media reach, it's your fucking what you can generate because of how marketable you are, and it's taken away, but there's no stopping it. You know what I mean? It's just fucking, that's the shit thing. That's the way it's gone. And it's not going to.
Have you seen that guy who does these things where it's like, it's like people saying, why do nurses only get like 20 grand a year? Have you seen, I played football with some nurses and they were shite. And it's like, is it for like 100 grand a week, you can keep footballers in like sports cars and all this. I can't remember. Your man, he's very funny. He's gone around the WhatsApp groups, but
yeah.
If someone could fucking tell me the name of that, send it on to fucking Twitter or some shit. But huge man, thanks very much for sticking around, man. And I'll get this up tomorrow, which would be Friday the fucking 17th of April. But it's been lovely talking to you, mate, and great catching up as well.
Really good catching up with you, man. I hope you're keeping all right over there and keeping safe. And
so far, so good.
Good to chat.
Yeah, so I mean, it's mad. Like you're on. The weird thing about this, it's like you have this cycle. You're like, it's all right, it's not too bad. People aren't. But then there's always a psychological thing where it's like, today I was ordering food from like a Max Burger, and I was like, I actually have some hand gel in my pocket, and then I seen they had some. I was like, I'm really going to take liberties on disinfecting the hands now. But then you're like, sometimes you're thinking to yourself, fuck, is it just going to explode? But Swedes are very good at self-distancing anyway.
Yeah. You're in a good place. Whatever the measures, the Swedish people will, they're leaving it up to the people to be responsible, and
which I think is, I think that's
they fairly follow order in Sweden,
Yeah, that's the touchstone is basically let people fucking have it's on people themselves. Like everyone's out and about, but they're not going about the business fully 100%. Unless it's necessary.
Yeah.
So I think.
Anyway, I'm going to keep. You're going to keep trying to say, "Look, man, good to chat to you," and then I put in with like another fucking.
Anyway, I'm just thinking of myself. Classic me. But look, we'll knock it on the head. Eugene, you're an absolute saint. You're a handsome bastard as well.
Hey, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, you'd be right too.
I would be. But that's another thing I wanted to say. There was 3 gingers in our age group in operation around Swinford, and I think everyone thought we were the same person. It was me, you, and Stevie Price.
Who's this Stevie Price? I got to meet this handsome man.
Steve Price. He played CSI Steve. Or
oh yes, yeah.
Or Gary Price, God rest him's cousin.
Yes. Oh right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know. I remember him from the show. Yeah, but great to chat to you, man. We'll catch up again soon and keep well.
Brilliant. And good luck with everything. And I'll see you on the other side of the fucking lockdown.
And blessed be the Messerschmitt.
Blessed be the Messerschmitt. Chucky alert huge.
Good luck, brother.